This free step-by-step video comes to you directly from Haynes, creators of the world's best repair manuals. Fix your car or truck the right way with our accurate and reliable information at your side. You can complete more than 200 jobs on this vehicle when you purchase the complete online manual at Haynes.com.
Fuel pump replacement. Gasoline is extremely flammable, so extra safety precautions must be observed when working with any part of the fuel system. Do not smoke and do not allow open flames or bare light bulbs near the vehicle. Do not perform fuel system maintenance procedures in a garage with a natural gas type appliance such as water heater or clothes dryer where a pilot light is present. Warning: before removing the fuel filter, the fuel system pressure must be relieved. Warning: don't begin this procedure until the gas gauge indicates the tank is empty or nearly empty. If the tank must be removed when it's full, for example if the fuel pump malfunctions, siphon any remaining fuel from the tank prior to removal using a proper siphoning kit available at most auto parts stores. Never start a siphon by mouth. Raise the parking brake handle. Rotate the shift knob counterclockwise and remove it. Pry up the parking brake level trim panel using a plastic trim tool. Remove the parking brake lever trim panel, working it around the handle. Pry up the console trim plate and disconnect the electrical connector. Locate the fuel pump and sending unit electrical connector and unplug it. The harness will exit through a grommet in the vehicle's floor. Start the engine and allow it to run until it stops. It should only run for a few seconds, or it may not even start with the fuel pump disconnected. Turn the ignition switch to the off position. Open the door and pull the hood release lever located just above the driver's side kick panel. Slide the hood safety latch to the left, then raise the hood upwards. Release the hood prop rod from the clip on the right side of the engine compartment and place the prop rod into its slot in the hood. Loosen the cable clamp nut, then disconnect the cable from the negative terminal of the battery. Open the fuel door, then remove the fuel filler cap to relieve any pressure built up in the fuel tank. Chock the front wheels to prevent the vehicle from rolling. Place a floor jack under center of the suspension subframe and raise the vehicle. Then support it with a jack stand placed at the notched reinforced area of the rocker panel seam. On the opposite side, support it with a jack stand placed in the notched reinforced area of the rocker panel seam and remove the floor jack. Remove the two parking brake cable brackets and fasteners and allow the cable to hang freely. Remove the rear underfloor cover fasteners and cover near the tank in the rear trailing arm. Remove the front underfloor cover fasteners and cover. Remove the fuel tank front shield fasteners and shield at the front of the tank. Release the safety tabs and disconnect the fuel line connection to the pump module. Have shop rags handy to soak up any residual fuel leakage. Loosen the fuel tank filler hose lower clamp. Remove the fuel tank filler hose shield by disengaging the claw at the top of the shield and maneuver the shield around and off the hose. Loosen the fuel tank filler hose upper clamp. Clamp the filler hose using a pair of needle nose pliers with fuel line around the ends of the pliers to prevent damaging the hose. Place a small funnel in a gas can and place the can and funnel under the fuel line connection to the tank. Then disconnect the hose and allow the fuel to drain into the funnel. Have shop rags handy to soak up any residual fuel leakage. Remove the clamp from the filler hose and allow the fuel to drain into the funnel. Remove the filler hose from the tank and allow the fuel to drain into the funnel. Siphon any remaining fuel from the tank prior to removal into a gas can using a proper siphoning kit available at most auto parts stores. Never start a siphon by mouth. With the tank empty, remove the siphoning kit. Remove the gas can and store it in a safe location. Gasoline is extremely flammable, and repairing fuel system components can be dangerous. Don't smoke or allow open flames or bare light bulbs near the work area. Don't work in a garage with a gas-type appliance, water heater or clothes dryer, and do not store the gas can or fuel-soaked rags where they could ignite. Clean up all spills immediately. Release the safety tabs and disconnect the fuel line connection to the evap canister. Release the safety tabs and disconnect the fuel line connection to the tank. Clean the line with compressed air to prevent contamination. Disconnect the electrical connector to the evap canister, then release the wiring harness retainers. Using pliers, disconnect the electrical harness retainers along the edge of the tank. Place a sturdy piece of wood between the jack head and the fuel tank to protect the tank. Then support the fuel tank with a floor jack. Loosen, then remove the bolts from the fuel tank retaining straps and remove the straps. Cover or plug the fuel tank opening to prevent fuel from spilling and prevent debris from entering the tank. With the help of an assistant, slowly lower the fuel tank down, stopping to make sure all the fuel lines are free. Once the tank has been lowered a few inches, disconnect the electrical connectors to the module at the top and the harness from the retainers. Release the safety tabs and disconnect the fuel line to the pump module, then remove the fuel line and electrical harness from the fuel tank. With all fuel lines and wiring disconnected, slowly lower the tank down, and with the help of your assistant, move the tank off the floor jack and onto the ground. Clean all spills up immediately. Clean the opening area thoroughly. Remove the locking ring retaining screws, then lift the locking ring off, noting the location of the alignment tab on the ring and the alignment point of the module. Lay shop rags over the opening to minimize fumes and other safety hazards, and have a small drain pan to place the fuel pump module in once it is removed. Lay shop rags out to catch the fuel that may spill, then lift the fuel pump module up and carefully angle the pump module as necessary while draining out the gasoline until the transfer hose is visible. Using pliers, disconnect the transfer hose clamp and remove the hose from the module. Then, being careful not to let the hose fall back into the tank, remove the pump module and place it in a small clean drain pan. Clean up any fuel that has been spilt. Disconnect the fuel pump electrical connector from the main body. Using pliers, remove the clips from the sliders. Pull the top of the module away from the sub-tank and remove the springs from the sliders. Pry away the two tabs at the top of sub-tanks 1 and 2 and remove sub-tank 1 from sub-tank 2. Using an angled pick, carefully pry back the two tabs and separate the jet pump module connector from sub-tank 2, then remove the module from the sub-tank. Once the connector has been removed, replace the O-ring on the sub-tank. Using pliers, squeeze the tabs and lift the retainer off of the sub-tank. Turn sub-tank 1 over and carefully disconnect the fuel pump retaining clips. Lower the fuel pump out of sub-tank 1 and remove the small pump sealing sleeve, then disconnect the electrical connector to the pump and remove the pump. Remove the fuel pump O-ring from inside sub-tank 1. Lubricate the sealing sleeve with clean fuel, then install the sealing sleeve onto the pump outlet nipple, then install the new O-ring onto the pump outlet, making sure the O-ring has been pushed down to fully contact the sealing sleeve. Insert the pump into sub-tank 1, aligning the pump outlet with the hole in sub-tank 1, then press the pump into the tank until the clips lock into place. Connect the short fuel pump harness to the fuel pump connector. Clean sub-tank 2 and the jet pump connection and install a new O-ring into the jet pump connector, then align the connector with sub-tank 2 and press the connector into the jet pump in the tank. An audible click should be heard once the clips have locked into place. Clean, then connect the fuel pump connector to sub-tank 2 and push the harness into the retainer on the side of the tank. Install the retainer onto the clips of sub-tank 1. Audible clicks should be heard when the retainer is fully seated. Then install sub-tank 1 into sub-tank 2 and press the retainer down until the retainer clips into place on sub-tank 2. Remove the old O-ring and clean the O-ring surface. Install a new O-ring onto the module. Install springs onto the sliders, then insert the sliders into the module and install the clips. Connect the fuel pump electrical connector to the main body. Clean the top of the tank thoroughly. Lift the transfer hose out of the tank and connect it to the fuel pump module. Being careful not to bend the flow arm, reinstall the module into the tank. Place the locking ring over the module and align the outer locking tab correctly to the module, then install the retaining screws. Tighten the locking ring retaining screws securely. With the help of an assistant, place the fuel tank back on the floor jack and raise the tank up toward the vehicle till it is still several inches away from the body. Reconnect the electrical connector to the pump and the fuel line. An audible click should be heard when the safety clip locks into place. Route the fuel sender harness under the tank insulator, then connect the electrical connector to the fuel level sender. Attach the fuel line and harness retainers along the edge of the fuel tank. Slowly raise the fuel tank up the remaining way into the body, stopping to make sure no fuel lines or electrical wires are being pinched. Install the two outer fuel tank straps and mounting bolts, then tighten the bolts hand tight. Lower the floor jack and install the middle tank strap and bolts. Tighten the fuel tank strap bolts to the specified torque setting. Route the fuel line at the rear over the body mount and connect the fuel line. An audible click should be heard when the safety clip locks into place. Reconnect the fuel line at the front of the tank. An audible click should be heard when the safety clip locks into place. Then install the harness retainer onto the retainer bracket. Clean the fuel tank filler connections thoroughly, then install the fuel filler hose. Tighten the fuel tank filler hose clamp securely. Install the fuel tank filler hose shield, making sure the shield halves snap into place. Connect the EVAP fuel line to the tank. An audible click should be heard when the safety clip locks into place. Install the fuel tank front shield and fasteners, then tighten the fasteners securely. Install the front underfloor cover and fasteners, then tighten the fasteners securely. Install the rear underfloor cover and fasteners, then tighten the fasteners securely. Install the two parking brake cable brackets and fasteners, then tighten the fasteners securely. Connect the fuel pump sending unit electrical connector. Connect the electrical connector to the console trim plate, then install the panel. Install the parking brake lever trim panel, working it around the handle. Close the center console compartment if open, then reinstall the shift knob, rotating it clockwise until it is tight. Using a floor jack, raise the opposite side of the vehicle, then remove the jack stand. Then lower the rear of the vehicle to the ground. Reconnect the negative cable to the negative terminal of the battery. Tighten the cable nut securely. Turn the ignition switch to the on position and wait a few seconds to allow the fuel system to pressurize. Then start the engine and check for fuel leaks at the fuel pump and lines.